All right, let's dive right into a story about a record that's been standing for over 2 decades. It's about a single number, one incredible moment, and a man who pushed his body past the limits of what anyone thought was possible. This is the number 100.2 miles per hour. That's a blistering 161.3 kilometers per hour. In the world of cricket, that's kind of like breaking the sound barrier. It's a speed that has been officially and verifiably broken only once, ever. Now, I'm sure you've seen this happen. You're watching a modern game and some wild number flashes up on the screen, 175 kph, or that mind-boggling 181.6. But what happens every single time? Yep, they're dismissed almost immediately as just a technical error, a ghost in the machine.
And that really brings up the central question here. How can we be so sure about that one number from 20 years ago, but we just shrug off these new ones today? Well, to find the answer, we have to look at this perfect storm of a man, a machine, and a moment in history.
To really get it, we've got to rewind the clock to the turn of the millennium. The late 90s and early 2000s, that was an era in cricket that was completely obsessed with one thing: pure, raw speed. Breaking the 100-mile-per-hour barrier was the ultimate prize. And this whole obsession was basically personified by this fierce global rivalry. In one corner, you had Pakistan's Shoaib Akhtar, the Rawalpindi Express, just an untamed force of nature, with a wild, explosive action. And in the other, Australia's Brett Lee, the polished speedster, with that classic athletic style. These two were constantly pushing each other, and the entire sport to the absolute limit. You see, the years leading up to 2003 were just a minefield of what-ifs and controversy. Brett Lee gets a reading of 100.5 miles per hour, but the broadcaster has to walk it back, saying it was probably a glitch. Then Akhtar hits the magic number, but the ICC refuses to accept it, saying the speed gun wasn't reliable. It all set the stage for the 2003 World Cup, where the ICC basically said, okay, enough, we're bringing in standardized military-grade tech to settle this once and for all. And that brings us to the two main characters in this story. Because breaking this kind of barrier, well, it required more than just wanting it. It needed a once-in-a-generation athlete to meet a moment of absolute technological perfection. So let's start with the man. Shoaib Akhtar wasn't a natural athlete in the textbook sense. He had flat feet, and he battled knee problems his entire career. But his body was almost violently built for speed. He had this unique shoulder hyperextension, some people called him double-jointed, that basically turned his arm into a human catapult. You combine that with his famously long, intimidating run-up, and you had a biomechanical marvel. And to push his body even further, Akhtar's training became the stuff of legend. Seriously. Leading up to the World Cup, he started by running at night pulling heavy tires. When that got too easy, he moved on to pulling small cars. And when that wasn't enough, he started pulling a full-sized truck, 4 miles, all to build that explosive power he needed for those last few kilometers of pace.
But all that effort would have just been another unofficial number without the machine. The tech at the 2003 World Cup was a total game changer. It was developed by an engineer with a background in military radar, and it used the Doppler effect to measure the ball's speed 1,000 times a second with less than 1% error. It was reliable, it was precise, and it was ready to capture history.
And this brings us to the main event, February 22nd, 2003, a World Cup match at Newlands in Cape Town. This is the moment when the man, the machine, and all that ambition finally collided. So the setting is this high-stakes match, Pakistan versus England. Both teams need a win. And, crucially, the giant scoreboard at Newlands is showing the speed of every single ball. This creates this incredible feedback loop for the bowler, the batsman, and the entire whirring crowd. Akhtar starts his 4th over, bowling to England's Nick Knight. And what happens next is just pure theater. First ball, 95.3 miles per hour. Fast. Second, 98.4. Third, 98.5. The 5th ball hits 99.1. You can just feel this rhythmic, terrifying escalation. Akhtar later said he saw the numbers on the board and just told himself, this is it, you can do it. Then he ran in for the final ball of the over. The human part of this moment is just as incredible. The ball comes in, Knight has less than half a second to react, and he just calmly nudges it to the leg side. As the scoreboard flashes 161.3 kph, Knight just shrugs. He faced the fastest ball in history
with this unbelievable cool, a moment of psychological defiance against pure physics.
But the story doesn't end there. Not at all. Akhtar had his record, the crowd had its show, but the day held a pretty significant, and for Pakistan, a very bitter twist. You see, while he cemented his place in the history books, his overall performance was, well, expensive. He only took 1 wicket and went for 63 runs. The very same speed that made him a legend also made him a high-risk, high-reward bowler. In fact, the real hero of the day wasn't the guy who broke the speed record. It was a then unknown 20-year-old named James Anderson. His incredible spell of swing bowling just dismantled Pakistan's top order. He won the match for England and got the Player of the Match award. And in a final, kind of bizarre twist that just sums up the whole day, Shoaib Akhtar, batting way down at number 11, ended up being Pakistan's top scorer. He smashed a wild 43 of 16 balls when the cause was already lost. It was just a perfect day to highlight that classic conflict in sports. Individual brilliance doesn't always equal team success.
So let's talk about the legacy. How did this one moment, this single 6-ball over, completely redefine the limits of cricket?
To put this in perspective, an average international fast bowler is around 140 kph. The truly elite, the genuinely quick guys, they live in that 145 to 150 range. Akhtar's 161.3 wasn't just a small step forward, it was a quantum leap. It's still a true statistical outlier, even today. He is the undisputed king of a very, very exclusive club. In over 2 decades since he did it, only 4 other men have ever been officially recorded bowling over 160 kilometers per hour. And none of them have topped Akhtar's mark. The impact of this one delivery was massive. It created a global brand for Akhtar, making him forever the 100-mile-per-hour man. It set a definitive, scientific benchmark for what was humanly possible. And it served as a cautionary tale. Akhtar's career was full of injuries, a powerful lesson on the immense physical cost of generating that kind of extreme pace. And that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. In our modern era of hyper-advanced sports science, nutrition, and specialized training, where athletes in every other sport are constantly breaking old records, why does this one, from a man who trained by pulling a truck, still stand unbeaten? Maybe it's just a testament to a unique athlete, a perfect moment, and a barrier that was truly, and perhaps permanently, broken.